Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, this is a fictional story based on one day I was imaginatively thinking of things, and of course, I was imaginatively thinking one day in the future when I was attending the Wiltshire Steam Vintage Rally, which takes place near Swindon in Wiltshire. I've never been before, but it looks interesting to go one day in the future. That's to say. Let's say the setting of the story is very unlikely to happen at this point, but let's say it takes place in 2025. Let's say around about 2025. This is the setting of the story, and in 2020, June of 2025, myself and my best friend David Scott, we were to be going to the rally itself, and I think this is the first time David had ever been, but he decided to give it a go. Even though it was far from Sussex to Wiltshire, we both went together in the car. We were both, myself and David, were excited with the very event. I was like, so, you know, David, this is the event my friend Ian has been to before, Ian Postlethwaite. He said, no, I remember you telling me, Foxy, no, I mean, and it's, had you not found out about it through Ian, I mean, I never would have found out about it if you didn't tell me, no, so I think this is a good choice of event, you know. Because I'd found out about it through Ian Postlethwaite, I was going to be happily going to the very event itself. The other people we were to be expecting at the very event, or who we were to be meeting up at the very event, was Tommy Gardiner as well, and Peter Mackett. So we were to be meeting up with Ian Postlethwaite, Tommy Gardiner, and Peter Mackett. After a long drive, we finally arrived at the Wiltshire Steam Vintage Rally event. David parked up the car, and we both got out and walked to the entrance where we had to pay our entry fees. Once we got to the entrance to pay our entry fees, we walked in, and because I'd been before but David hadn't, David's eyes was just popped. He was like, oh my, what a brilliant steam rally. Yeah, no, it's as good as Tinker's Park as far as when it gets, you know, as David said. I was like, let's have a look, David. I mean, honestly, David, you'll certainly enjoy it, I encouraged. And so David followed my footsteps, and we both walked together. We got our cameras out to shoot some photographed pictures of anything interesting. Then before long, in the distance, we saw Tommy Gardiner, Ian Postlethwaite, and Peter Mackett. David instantly recognised Peter Mackett. "Hello, David," Peter said. "Hello, Peter. Hello, mate. How are you doing?" "Hello, Tommy. Hello, Foxy." He said, "Hello, Foxy." He said, "Hello, Ian." As I said hello and shook hands, as I shook hands and said hello to them both, it was a very happy greeting, and we were certainly all very happy to have met one another. We walked over. Myself, David, Tommy, Ian and Peter, all of us had a wonderful time together after the greeting. We were observing the various vintage fairground organs that were to be seen at the rally, and also watching and observing the arena, where there'd be steam hauled traction engines or classic cars or classic motorcycles of all sorts. The event was perfection to all of us. Certainly did we get a great deal of enjoyment out of it. Before long it was time to have something to eat, and I had a bite to eat. David had a bite to eat, and I had a bite to eat, and as did Tommy, Ian, and Peter. But I mean, I'd taken my own lunch, but in terms of Tommy, Ian, and Peter, that's another story. But David hadn't taken his own lunch, so he had to purchase something from one of the counters at the rally event. And before our very eyes, and after we had our lunch, we continued with the enjoyment of all the events the event had to offer. And we even had some photo shoots together, being that of all of us together as a group photograph, some group photographed pictures, and being that of sometimes us stood together, or sometimes a picture of me and David standing beside a traction engine, or myself and Tommy, or myself and Ian, or myself and Peter, or David and Tommy, or David and Ian, or Peter and Ian, and all of us. All of us having a picture taken with one another and doing all sorts of interesting things at the event, standing beside a steam traction engine, or steam vehicles, or classic cars, or vintage motorcycles, or photographs of all of us at the event itself, seeing all that the event had to offer. But the thing that we got the most enjoyment out of was listening to the fairground organs. We couldn't get enough of listening to the organs. Tommy and Peter and Ian really couldn't get enough of listening to the vintage organs themselves. They just had pleasurable enjoyment of listening to them. They really did. Nothing could beat a good fairground organ, Tommy said. They're just brilliant. They are really very good. I certainly agree with you, Tommy, I said to Tommy. The vintage organs are just fantastic. They really are, I must say. And before long it was time to go home. The event was over. Tommy walked back to his car, and after we said our goodbyes, and after we shook hands and said goodbye to him, and then we exchanged our goodbyes to Peter and Ian as they walked back to their cars, and then myself and David walked back to his car, and it was time to head back home to Sussex. We got in the car, and then it was going to be a long drive back home. David dropped me off back in Brighton after a long trip, and he drove back home to the proceedings of his home residence. I got back home, had my tea, or supper if you like, gave my cats attention, watched some YouTube, and got my videos up. I wasn't going to be able to upload all of them that very day. I was going to have to upload them over time, bits and bits at a time. And then before long it was time to go to bed, and I fell happily to sleep, having a dreaming and thinking of all the wonderful memories I had of the Wiltshire Steam Vintage Rally event from when I attended with David, for the first time with David, and of course meeting Tommy Gardiner, Ian Postlethwaite and Peter Mackett themselves, all enjoying a wonderful time at the event itself. The end. Well, thanks everybody all for watching, and I didn't find out about the Wiltshire Steam Vintage Rally event until seeing it in one of Ian Postlethwaite's videos. Ian Postlethwaite is one of my subscribers. I mean, he's been following me on and off for a fair while now, not terribly long, about 2 years I think, and he's a good friend, Ian Postlethwaite is. He's very friendly and kind. I don't hear from him all the time. The only times I really generally hear from Peter is whenever I've gone to the Vintage Rally events, being that of, say, for example, the Lawton Vintage Rally, or the Tinkers Park Vintage Rally, or Royal Vintage Rally, or Headingley Vintage Rally, or steam rallies, and there's steam rallies at the same time, or, you know, all those kinds of rallies. Lawton, Tinkers Park, what's next? Oh, Royal, Parham Park and Headingley. That's normally the only times I generally hear from Ian Postlethwaite himself, just to tell you of things, that's all. But it's okay, I don't hear from him often, but that's alright. But one day we're going to hopefully run into each other one day at a Vintage Rally event, but we shall see. I don't hear from Tommy Gardiner all the time, just sometimes too. Really the only times I have a greater chance of hearing from Tommy himself, I mean, it's not all the time, just sometimes, is when it comes to seeing certain vintage fairground organs at, say, Tinkers Park, Lawton, Royal, Headingley and Parham Park, those kinds of events, you know, so, just say, sometimes I hear from him on certain content of mine, but it's okay. I mean, whenever hearing from Tommy, no matter how long or how short a time it may be, it's always a delight hearing from him. And the same with Peter Mackett too. And thanks everybody, all indeed, for watching. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. In this latest episode of the Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats episode, I'd certainly recommend episode 105 and episode 106 for those of you who are interested in watching them, but never mind if not. Thanks for watching, and may your good wishes be bringing you great expectations of happiness.